Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has built up massive hype, incredible graphics, innovative combat, a $50 price tag, and all developed by a small indie team. It almost sounds too good to be true, so like you might be, I found myself waiting for the catch. I'm happy to say that there isn't one, but there were some surprises and unexpected things I think players should know. In this spoiler-free review, I'll go over those, plus the world, gameplay, and mechanics to help you decide if Expedition 33 is right for you. For full transparency, I did receive an early copy of this game to play and review, so a big thank you goes to the developers for that. 100 years ago, something called the Fracture happened, breaking off the city of Lumiere and turning it into an island in the ocean. Lumiere used the time afforded by this isolation to develop technology and a dome they live under for defense, as the mainland, now simply called the continent, has been overrun by Nevrons, hostile creations of a much more sinister being. That being is the Paintress, and technology couldn't protect Lumiere from her awakening. Once a year, she paints a number on her giant monolith, counting down, and everyone that age or older is completely evaporated. This is called the Gommage and has been going on for 60 plus years, to the point that it's accepted and there's even a festival for it now. Each year, expeditioners ask for volunteers. After continued failures and acceptance of the Gommage though, most of Lumiere just doesn't care anymore. However, there is a spark of hope. Gustave, an expert on previous expeditions, has invented a Lumina converter and technology that he believes can turn the tide against the Nevrons, finish off the Paintress, and finally save the future of the population in Lumiere. This is the backdrop for an epic story in Expedition 33, but it's also a very dark and heavy one as well. Narrative is arguably the main focus of this game, and there's a lot of it. Lots of in-game cutscenes and cinematics, dialogue, world building, and character development. You'll see this pretty early on as the prologue has a heap of dialogue options and in-engine cutscenes. The good news is that the sound design and voice acting is fantastic, and that helps a lot, but this much dialogue does make it noticeable, at least in the English version, that the movement of the lips and the words don't always line up very well. Story elements are intentionally left vague in a kind of From Software way, and you'll uncover and put everything together as you progress. Obviously there was going to be a story here, but I was a little surprised at just how cutscene heavy it was early on. That being said, I did enjoy the story. It's unique, very well written, and has plenty of memorable moments. Coming in at about 30 hours for a straight run through, double that if you're a completionist, and a New Game Plus mode, there's more than enough to keep you busy for a while. In contrast to the darker theme and moments in the story are the beautiful and extra colorful environments on the continent. The mainland is full of unique regions like the floating waters, caverns, and old battlefields from previous expeditions. It's ridiculously good looking. I honestly can't think of a region that was ugly or looked like it was just thrown together. This does go hand in hand with some performance issues though, and I'm curious to see what people say about optimization, because I could definitely not stay at a steady 120, and in heavily populated areas I was dipping down into the 50s. You can switch characters at any time, and exploration is encouraged on large maps with multiple pathways and secret areas. Some of these lead to mini-bosses or shortcuts, while others lead to puzzles or resources that you can pick up. An under-the-radar quality of life feature here is that you can toggle between sprint, jog, or walk at any time, which is great when you're like me and backtrack a lot to find everything, but also make up for that lost time by sprinting everywhere. Enemies are scattered throughout the levels and always in the same places, with areas working similar to Dark Souls. You'll find expedition flags from previous years that are fast travel points and function like campfires. You can rest, heal, and refill your flask, chroma potion. However, anytime you exit a region or rest at an expedition flag, the enemies in that level will be respawned in their places, except for bosses you've defeated. This is great if you want to grind experience and take on more fights, but not always great for backtracking. On top of that, the maps are very intricate and well designed, so much so that it's not always clear where you need to go. And there is no HUD element or mini-map to navigate, which can get you lost or turned around in some of the dark or larger areas. Thankfully, this isn't an issue on the larger world map, with a compass and clearly marked objectives available. If you're worried about this part being tedious, as the story progresses, there are things that make traveling around much easier and faster, which is definitely necessary because there is no fast travel here, and the world map is pretty good size, with its own respawning enemies, hidden areas, and pickups to find. Expedition 33 doesn't force you down a particular path, so once things open up, you're free to explore or pursue the story. Some of these locations are simple, but still beautifully crafted and unique, while others are likely to end in your demise and let you know before you go in. One big thing needs to be noted here. There is no manual save function in Clair Obscur, only autosaves. I will say that the autosave system is almost overkill, saving constantly when you rest, pick something up, enter certain areas, or win a fight. You'll be thankful for this when you stumble across a way too powerful enemy that you have no chance against, but I still think that this is something players should be aware of before diving in. And speaking of fights, the combat in Expedition 33 is far from your standard turn-based game. If you're a member of the turn-based is boring club, this one is definitely not that. It uses a timeline system and character speed stat to determine what order you act in, like initiative, with an interesting take on the action point system. Special skills or free aim attacks will use action points, but standard base attacks will replenish them, creating this balancing act of which attacks to use and when, or stacking AP for even more powerful ones. And fights are fast. That fast pace is combined with more depth than you might expect to create these experiences that are quick, engaging, and addicting. The highlight here is the dodge and parry system, which starts off relatively slow and simple, but just when you think you've got it down, you'll find yourself dodging, jumping, and parrying 4 or 5 hit combos. It gets wild. The standard difficulty notes that these mechanics are encouraged, not required, but I'm going to say that's malarkey, because you'll take more damage than you can just eat, and some combos will kill you, especially early on. Not only that, but if you can parry every hit, you'll counter with a big attack that does massive damage, sometimes even being the best way to get rid of an enemy. A really cool addition to this system is when an enemy will target your entire party, allowing Expedition 33 to execute a group counterattack. Even on offense, whenever you use a skill, the QuickTime style button prompts will be there. You won't miss anything if you don't hit them, but if you do, and especially getting perfects, will enhance the effect of the skills. So no matter which side of the battle you're on, there's always something to be watching. Combine these mechanics with a wide variety of interesting enemies, gorgeous animations, and over-the-top effects, and battles fly by. Another important aspect of combat is the elements. Every weapon and skill uses one, and there's a handful of them outside of the standard ice, fire, and earth. These are crucial because enemies can be weak to, resistant to, or even healed by certain elements. Finding and exploiting those weaknesses will go a long way towards taking out tough enemies and bosses. This system also incentivizes you to switch and level up other weapons. As for skills, they tie closely into the characters, which, because of spoilers, I'm not going to say too much about. I will tell you the basics though, and what I really like. Each character is completely unique and has their own mechanics, synergies, and playstyles. For example, one switches between fighting stances with different benefits, another builds up charges by countering and dodging, and another uses the entire range of elements to create synergies and strengthen their abilities. You can only have 3 characters in your party at a time, but these different playstyles and abilities can be used to complement each other and make the party as a whole more powerful. Skill trees are also actually decent sized and offer a lot of flexibility to build your characters out with, but the real fun comes from the Pictos, which are a part of the Lumina technology that can be equipped. You'll find these throughout the world, and they're basically like passive abilities. Extra AP when battles start, bonus damage for free aim, or a protective shell when under 50% health are some examples. The kicker is that once you win 4 battles with the Pictos equipped, it becomes mastered and can be equipped by anyone. This takes another resource called Lumina points that characters get from consumables or leveling up, but there's actually no limit to how many points a character can have. In other words, once you start to master your Pictos, you can pick and choose which passive abilities to stack on everybody. Finding that right mix of Pictos, passives, and skills can put some serious power behind your characters, and it's a lot of fun to see those big damage numbers roll off. If any of this sounds familiar, it's because Clair Obscur Expedition 33 definitely wears its influences on its sleeve, managing somehow to feel like a love letter to old school JRPGs, but also like a modern blend of other genres mixed in. Its world and setting is completely original and unlike any other game that I can think of, and considering the size of the team this is coming from, this game is extremely impressive. Very possibly a Game of the Year 2025 candidate. The characters and story being so front front and center might not connect with everyone, and feelings on optimization and a couple small mechanics will be interesting to see, but Expedition 33's great feeling combat and just overall level of polish really won me over. If you're looking for more turn-based strategy and tactics games reviews like this one, feel free to click through to the video on screen now.